Hi everyone, welcome to TriEssence martial art channel, Style Deconstructed. And today we'll look at another application from Taichi, Young Style Taichi in particular, and this will be the Repulse monkey. So a couple of weeks ago I released a video criticizing a well-known Taichi master within the community who attempted to use Repulse monkey to defend against a single leg takedown. And that video is out there already. If you haven't seen it, do watch that first, it'll give you better context. So here I'm going to basically talk about what Repulse monkey most likely should be used as, right? So obviously the way that he does it to stop single leg takedown is totally bogus. It would never work. And but as always, like I said in my last video about single whip, it's impossible to determine the exact purpose or applicational usage of any Taichi application that was intended by its founder and second generation young family member. Impossible to know at this stage. All we can do is to approximate the most likely interpretation, the one that actually makes more sense than the rest. And that's what we're here to do. To do that, we use two tools, right? Outcomes razor and the master key concept. So we don't want something that's complicated and doesn't actually have a high chance of success, and also things that only work in a niche situation is not most likely the correct interpretation. It had to be something that's more general. Right? No one back in the days would invent a technique repeated multiple times in a form just to counter a niche situation that only happened 1 in 100th of the time. That is not how functioning effective martial art people operate. So as always, we're going to look at a few incorrect examples, and then we're going to talk about it from there.
So obviously I'm poking her eye here, so this one comes out as soon as I go here. So one pulls while one shoots, so it's a, so you notice how it just comes right off?
Okay, so this one is not precisely wrong. I mean, if somebody grabbed my wrist, I can do this and then hit him in the face. Although the problem here is that, firstly, it's very niche, right? I mean, how often do you get somebody grabbing your wrist? I know this happens a lot in self-defense videos, but in reality, I've never had somebody come in and grabbing my wrist. It's like one of those things where everyone thinks it happened, but it doesn't actually happen in reality, unless you're like a girl, in which case maybe the guy is trying to harass you. But like in actual life-threatening situation, I don't think people grab your wrist like this. And even if they do, I just punch me in the face. I don't need this technique to be presented. I don't even need to turn this. I mean, turning this doesn't actually help. I mean, I'm not eliminating his grip over my thing. Right? If you want to do this and then break it out of his hold, that would be more purposeful. But just turning your wrist doesn't actually do anything in terms of this grip. I can very well just leave this and just hit him in the face with the other hand. So while this can work, I don't think it explains why this hand is retracting while that hand goes forward. So that's why I don't think this is a legitimate interpretation.
Punch comes in here. Here's our turnover. Here's our strike.
Now this one, it fails outcome razor, right? It's basically when somebody punches, he first intercepts here, and then he grabs it, and then he hits somebody in the face. Again, if somebody's throwing a punch at you, you're not going to be able to do two things to it. Not possible. You'll be lucky if you just tap it. You have one moment of a chance. And also, right, so the idea of doing this and then grabbing it also never going to happen unless the guy doesn't know how to punch at all. And even if you do that, his other punches are going to hit you. Sure, you can stop it with your hand, but it just makes this whole technique clumsy and ineffective and has very low success rate. And most importantly, it's way too complicated to actually work reliably in a fighting situation.
It's when they're punching, you're doing this, like this, here. Now, in the form we don't kick, I kick. I use it as that's because anytime we raise our leg, it's to represent a kick of any kind. So your goal is to buckle them. They will buckle. I can smash the head, turn the wrist, take out the palm, the arm with my palm and create a hyperextension. When they fall this way, my arm will come up and hit them in the head this way at the same time.
Now the next one, I know this guy in the video does state that it wouldn't work on a jab, it only work on a dedicated punch. But basically when the guy punches, he does this, and then he kicks, and then he pulls him down, or he punches me in the face. I mean, yes, he does specify that it only works on a dedicated punch, but I would argue even on a dedicated punch, it's very unlikely to happen. Unless the dedicated punch doesn't actually pull back at all. But even so a jab is fast, a cross is slower, but it's still gonna come back. It's not gonna do that and not come back. So to make the connection and then grab someone is not gonna work, right? The person is gonna hit, is gonna bounce, and due to the collision, they're gonna bounce off, or gonna bounce. Basically, anything that is solid is gonna bounce and part ways. It's not gonna bounce and stick together. That's not how physics works. So the idea that I can just grab him, very unlikely to happen. And even if I do, I'm gonna have to account for the pulling back force, which is, he's gonna pull back. So, and he will have more momentum in his favor than me holding him there. And lastly, if the kick maybe not, but this hit from here, it does nothing. It's not a lot of damage. I mean, the skull, yes, the brain is housed in it, but it's actually quite dense. So by slapping it like this, it's not really going to do much. So it is a very ineffective application. The pulling maybe is better, but for me, it's still a very clumsy way to explain this, and it's not straight to the point.
That's not good. So this technique allows me, instead of pushing it that way, it wants to break my structure, I will bring it around and go back. So now it pushes it, because I try to say, again. Yeah. And notice I have to bring my weight back. Now I have him.
And this one is highly situational. Basically, the guy is holding his arm like this. So like that.
Okay, yeah.
And then yanking him that way, and then I turn and hit him in the face. Again, highly situational. How often do you get a guy who's gonna do this to you? I mean, only if you do like Taichi, but like the whole notion that one technique specifically counters another unique technique found in the same system is a fallacy. That is not how combat works, and it's very ineffective if that's how people used to design their martial arts. So all of these attempt to explain Repulse monkey, in my opinion, is not valid, and it doesn't pass the two criteria, the Occam razor and the master key concept. So instead, I'm going to then show you my personal interpretation, which again is influenced by my Taichi lineage, as well as my Wuxing Tongbei lineage, who does have a separate lineage with the Yang family second generation. Alright, so the move itself, the many ways people do it, some people does it like this, but I'm going to use the more conventional way. That means the way that is being used by the Yang family, by Yang Chengfu's photograph, by his son, Yang Shouzhong, by the current Yang family, as well as by all the young people that I've met in Beijing. But the conventional way of doing this basically looks like this. You start here, goes that way, and goes that way. Right? So that's in a nutshell how this move works. And how is this supposed to be used for combat? Well, it's actually quite simple. So assuming Eric punches me, see, basically like that. And yeah, so let me slow it down for you. That's just to show you how spontaneous and fast this move is actually intended to be. And you can hit that in the name, right? Repulse monkey, right? If you ever see a monkey move fast, you wanna slap a monkey, you have to be fast and unpredictable. If you come to a monkey like that, it's not gonna work. So if I slow it down, basically I'm standing here, when he's throwing the punch, this hand comes in, like that. But I'm not grabbing him, and I'm not aiming at a specific place, because if I try to aim, for example, for this is much likely to miss, or he's going to be able to move out of the way. But if I aim with my whole arm, it's much easier to make contact. I'm covering this whole sphere that he's potentially punching, rather than going specifically for an arm. So that is in line with the master key concept. Right? You want to generalize your approach, and it works no matter where exactly the punch is. I don't have to be specific. I can almost close my eyes. If I know he's punching and I do this, I'm going to be able to make contact and basically nudge it out of the way somehow. So that is the first important thing. And second thing, at the same time, this hand basically hits in the face or in the chest, depending on where you can reach. And the step basically shifts. So in the form, obviously it steps backwards. But in practice, sometimes you don't step backwards, you kind of switch your step around. If the guy is like charging into you, then you can step back and do it. But if he's just like standing here and punching, you can just do that. So this goes that way, and then this one punching. You don't even need to dodge. I have this habit of doing a head movement because of other martial art influence, right? In Taichi, you don't actually dodge, you just do that. And because of the way the hand goes, you can nudge it towards your shoulder. So it's actually, you can see it's quite simple. It's like straightforward, no setup, no prerequisites, straight to the point. The moment the guy lifts his hand to you, you're walking right in the face. And before he even knows something, his face is right. Right, so let's look at it again at like a more proper speed. So the 100 is there. Okay. So now let's look at the few nuances, right? So in the form, the hand comes to the back, the hand comes forward, and then it goes here. Now one hand goes down, right? Why in the form the hand doesn't just go like that? It's because in the form you have to follow up with another repulse monkey. Just move your repeater 4 or 5 times. So if I do this and I stop right here, it kind of disrupts the flow, which is why it goes here and then it comes down, readying for the next one. Ultimately, you only need this part. Once your hand completes this cycle, it can go down. I don't have to keep it here, right? So it's like a habit for safety purpose, but if I just do that, I'll be able to hit him. But obviously in real life, you're not going to change into another repulse monkey, so there's no point in doing this move. But that would be my interpretation of why in the form the hand doesn't just stop here, instead it kind of goes down. But the important thing is that the hand does come back towards your chest. It doesn't go like this, like some people do now. It comes towards your chest and then it lowers. The second nuance in this movement is why have to come back and hit forward, right? Because I mean, why don't you just hit forward straight away? Other to that, but it correlates to my video about the dueling efficacy. Because of the way internal martial art do, they want to stand in a nonchalant, neutral stance. They don't want to hold up the hand. So if I'm holding up my hand here, I can just palm strike like that. But my hand is here. How am I gonna hit it with my rear hand? Right? If it's my front arm, I can always do that. That's one way of doing it. Another way, so the most efficient and fast way to actually slap somebody is to basically pick up the hand and then slap it like that. It looks like it's a big motion, but in actuality, if you start with your hand down here, this is one of the most efficient way to slap someone than any other way you can come up with. So that's the reason why the hand has this motion. It's not to wind up or to have some other weird application. And there's even someone who does something like when the guy punches, he like catches here and then hit the hand. Like those are like really weird and highly impractical interpretation of this technique. Right? So the hand coming from the back is not for any reason, just that it's purely convenient if you start from a neutral stance. And one in a neutral stance, this one is also more convenient this way. I can just pick it up and come back, and it's almost impossible for you to tell what I'm about to do. When I'm here, I can punch him, I can do P, I do a lot of things. But obviously, if I choose to do repulse monkey, it's very hard for him to tell, right? Like you can't really know if my hand is down here. And the way the technique is designed, it suits exactly that. This move is perfect from launching from down here. And the height is also. And the retreat, like I explained, is to either move back or to just switch side and then hit in the face. Now, this move can also work on the other hand. Although it's less ideal, but on the ocean that he's not throwing that punch, but the other one, it can still work. You just kind of have a slight issue with cutting in, so you can't do it straight, you kind of have to do it to the side. Well, in a little bit, so more like this. But you can still basically use the same technique. And furthermore, you can still use this when the guy isn't attacking you. So if I'm having the initiative, I'm the one that's supposed to make an attempt, or in a real life situation, I feel threatened, but he hasn't made a move yet, I can stop attacking with this. I don't have to wait for him to punch. Obviously, if he's punching, it gives me the opportunity of him not being able to change, which obviously is better. But even if he's just not attacking and he's just standing there, so firstly, right, assuming that we're in a daily conflict, I'm like, how are you driving? You don't see that red light. If the moment I feel that I want to hit him, I'll just hit him like that. It's very hard for him to react, right? And you might wonder, if I'm just hitting him, why is this hand still coming back? Because I'm not blocking anything yet. So here's the thing. This coming back actually helps to accelerate the force over here. If you leave this arm out, hit like this, you're only using like half of your body. If you want to use the other half of the body, you kind of have to pull. When I'm pulling this back, it basically accelerates through the spine in the rotational force and makes this harder. So even if I'm not blocking something, I'm still going to do this just to accelerate both the speed and the power of the hand. And obviously, even if he has his hands up, obviously now if he has his hand up, I have better things to do. I can basically do stuff with the hands, like Yiquan stuff. But just for argument's sake, if I really want to use Repulse Monkey for some reason, I still can. I just have to do that. So I can still just tap this, and the hand comes in. Or I can still come from the ears and do that. And next, I'm going to briefly talk about power. So obviously, a technique is only as good as how much damage you can cause. In this case, this is more a surprise attack. So we're not trying to kill the guy with one strike. It's unlike the single whip that I mentioned previously, where it's a very detrimental strike. This is lighter because of the speed you have and the sudden explosiveness, right? Because you have explosive surprise attack, you're going to lose out on power. But still, if you hit in the face, it's enough to daze the guy and give you the opportunity to do something else. And again, it goes back to the name Repulse Monkey, right? When you hit a monkey, you're going to try to kill it with one hit. You'll be lucky if you just catch it. With that said, it doesn't mean this one has no practical damage at all. So it's not as detrimental as like a Taichi, right? Or some heavy, Zai Quan. But still, try to end here. Try to get this thing going. But this one is very hard to end precise. Yes. So it's not and it's also not a kinetic push. It's not something like that. You want to throw your hand onto the ground like a dead, heavy object. So instead, it functions something like this. But imagine that on your face. It will daze you, right?
Yeah, definitely.
There's still a lot of, it's about the weight. It's not about the push. It's not about the displacement, and it's not purely penetration. It's not like that. That penetrates. This is more like a whack, right?
Yes.
If you were to describe the impact.
Yes.
Like it doesn't push you, doesn't penetrate, but it's just. Try it again.
Yeah.
So just a very big whack.
Yes, basically.
But you do feel the weight, right?
Yes.
So if you don't have the pad and hit your face, it will still be substantial. But if you guys got a lot of muscles, like a gym guy, you probably don't want to do that to his chest. He's probably not gonna hurt you. Yeah, but
it's more of a face.
Yeah, it's more like a surprise attack. And again, right, the whole key that this is a surprise attack. It's so fast that you hit him before he even knows. So once you have that, you can't ask for massive damage, right? So the bottom line is, if I want to severely hurt somebody, I'll probably go with mid punch or Zai Quan from Yiquan. Those are the ones that are heavy hitters, and I don't expect the guy to get up after a proper hit from one of those methods. This is more like, something's wrong, or he's surprise attacking me. In a pinch of moment, I'm gonna hit him, and then he's gonna get dazed, and then I'm gonna go in for the mid punch or like a haymaker or something else. But this creates opportunity, and that again is why going back, you're kind of on the retrieving end. This is not something that if you will do on the upper hand. On the upper hand, I'll do more severe strikes. But when I'm caught off guard, when I'm retreating, it's a very neat thing to do. And definitely, if you do it correctly, it does catch a lot of people off guard. In my personal experience, I often, in friendly exchanges, I prefer to use this. Just simply because it's so fast and very hard for people to prevent it, and they get a shock from the speed and the explosiveness, which discourages them from further, escalating the challenge. So that is my understanding based on my two lineages of martial art and masters on how they understand Repulse monkey. And again, doesn't mean this is definitively the correct interpretation, but in my opinion, it's the most viable, practical, and logical interpretation I've seen to date. Hope this made sense to you and hope you enjoyed it. If you do, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to support me on Patreon, it'd be greatly appreciated. I have a whole list of exclusive videos that dives in-depth into internal martial art and explaining its phenomenon using scientific understanding of the four fundamental forces of internal. As always, a big shout out to all my Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for your support. As always, message me whenever you have a question for current content or suggestions for future content. And after this video, I will be making another video to explain the internal form mechanics and how that help you to accomplish Repulse monkey. So my Patreon supporters, do stay tuned and watch out for that exclusive part 2 on Repulse monkey. And thanks everyone for watching TriEssence Martial channel, and I'll see you next time.